ID Professionals video tutorials. Posting of transactions. We will talk about the tax menu, sales order, sales invoice, credit memo and receipt, purchase order, purchases stroke receive inventory, vendor credit memo and payment, payment for expenses and fixed assets, then general journals. Let's go to Peachtree. Tax menu. Tax menu is used for posting transactions. So sales order is just, it means LPO, local purchase order. So I'll select the name of the customer. You can say Wafa Limited. Date, you can say 1st, shipment date to 1st of January 2013. The sales order number, you can call it S01. And the quantity, I can say 5. Item, I'll select drop down list and select the item. Here select food, select food, unit price, I'll say 3,000. I'll say enter. Then I can also add one more item, say 8, select beverages, and I'll say 1,005. I'll say enter. So I can now save my sales order. So that's how to post a sales order. So I'll say close. The next thing I want to do is to post my sales invoice. I'll select sales invoicing. I'll also select my customer, Wafa Limited. The invoice number, you can also select 2nd of January. Invoice number, you can call it IVN invoice 1001. Then I have two options. I can select apply to sales order or apply to sales. If I click on the drop down list, I can see the sales order number 1. So I can now, it gave me the information on my LPO, that's the sales order. So I don't need to enter any information. It just give me the information that's in my sales order. And I can now select here. I can say 5. So this means I ordered for 5 and they supplied 5. Assuming they supplied 6 instead of 8, say enter. So that means I will be charged based on the amount. We charge the customer based on the amount that we supplied. So once the customer give us a LPO to supply goods to him, in the sales order, he order for our product. So it depends on the amount that we supply to them that we charge them. So you can say save. You can also post one more invoice. So now you notice that the system automatically changed the invoice number to 1002. Another thing, applied to sales order is not highlighted because we don't have any sales order to this effect. So we now select our quantity that I want to supply in our sales invoice that we are selling. I can say $60 quantity, then supplies. I'll select my supplies and the quantity. The unit price is 700. Then I'll say enter. I can also add one more item, that is foam. I can say 5. Select. So foam is telling me I have 105. I can just select foam. What's the price? I can say 500. And I'll say I can sell it for 2000. Say enter. So that's 10,000. So I can save this invoice. I can also view the list of the invoices that I have. I can refresh. So I can now close this. So I need to post the transactions. Let me say close. Tax. System. Post. I'll post all the transactions. Now go back to my list, customer, then sales invoices. This is my sales invoice. So let me select the second one and click on it. So on this, it's not telling me unpaid. On this invoice, I want to now create my VAT. It is called sales tax. I can click here and select new. That is a shortcut. I can also go to the maintain menu and select it. Let's see, cancel. Let me cancel this also. Let me close this. It's also in my customer and sales. I can select it also, sales tax. So I'll say next. The rate for VAT is 5%. And say 5. Say next. sales tax agency ID. Sales tax agency ID. That means our TIN number, because we are paying to FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service. They are in charge of VAT collection, and every company has a TIN number. So you can say TIN. Let me say cancel and see what's telling me. Okay, TIN. That's my TIN number 85. I'll say okay. Then sales tax agency name, that is FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. How are the sales tax calculated for the agency? Single rate. Then what is the rate? Rate is 5%. Then we also need to select an account to track all our sales taxes. All our sales taxes. So we select our VAT payable. That's our VAT payable account. So we track all our VAT that we're going to collect. Say next. So I can now call it VAT, VAT. I can just say 01 for the ID, and the name is VAT. Then I'll click on finish. So that's all. That's how to create VAT. So now go back to my invoice and select it from customer, sales invoice. Now select this also. Notice that my balance is 52,000 that I'm charging by the Barry Limited. I want to now compute VAT on it. Just select and select VAT. So it's automatically computed my VAT 2,600. Now making a total of 54,600 instead of 52,000. So I can now say save. Now, assuming I rendered service to Chief Oni, I render some services to Chief Oni. Let me call it invoice number 1003 on 4th of January 2013. I don't need to go to quantity and item. I organize, or there was a rental service. Let me say rental service. I'll put the amount, let's say 50,000. I also organize training service for Mr. Oni staff. I can call that 100,000. But you notice something, that by default, when I was setting the customer, everything will go to sales income. I'm not able to select from my chart of account the account I want rental service income to be posted to, the training service income to be posted to. I cannot select it. So let me save this invoice. I'll click on save. So the next thing I want to mention now is how to make sure that my GL account is appearing on my sales invoice. To appear on my sales invoice, so we will go to options, global, then we now hide general ledger account. We will unhide it. We now select it, then we say OK. Now I want to go back to my sales invoice. Let me post it. Tax, system, post. OK. So my sales invoice, view and edit sales invoice. Now select it. It's now displaying my GL account. So I can now select from here. By default, it's going to sales income, but I don't want it to go to sales income. I'll now select training service. That is rental service under income. I'll select it. And I'll also select this training service under my income. So this training service, and I'll select it. So I can also select my VAT. So my total VAT is 7,500. I can decide that I don't want VAT on my training service, so I'll exempt it. Any other number apart from 1 is exempt. I can just say exempt. So notice that the VAT is 7,500. Let me now exempt training service. So it is now calculating my VAT only on rentals. That is 50,000, so giving 2,005. So I can now say save. So the next thing we want to talk about is return inward. Return inward. When we sell to a customer and the customer returned the goods, that is credit and returns, we now select new credit memo. We can also go to the tax menu and select credit memo. Let me assume Wafa is the one that is returning goods. Credit memo, let's just say CRN01. I'll now select the invoice from which Wafa Limited is returning goods. I now select this. Assuming Wafa returned 1 food and 2 beverages. System automatically calculate the amount based on the selling price. It calculates using the selling price to get the amount to be deducted. So we credit the customer account. So we say save. That's how to post returns inward with our credit memo. The next thing we want to talk about is receipts. You can also receive money. You can come here. It's our credit memo. It's our receipt. And the sales journal need to be posted. Yes. It's now telling me to select a cash account. You can say GTB. Okay. So I'm receiving payment from Wafa. I selected Wafa. Is now displaying all the outstanding balances of Wafa Limited. So I also have reference. This can be my check number. I can just put 01222. Then my receipt number, you can say RNO1. You can change this to 5. Description. If I click, if there's any discount, I can select here discount. I'll put discount here. Description, part payment on account. And this is discount allowed to the customer. So if I select, if I say part payment on account, if I click pay, it's assuming that it's paying all the 85,000. Let me uncheck that. Let me now put the discount of 5,000. So if I click pay, if I say 5,000 and I click pay, so show 80,000 and just click pay. Then for this also part payment, okay, this will be full payment. Full payment on beginning balance. I'll say enter, and this part payment. Let me just paying only 6,000. I don't need to check the box. I just say 6,000. So the total amount is paying is 91,000. Use my GT bank. I can now calculate my GTB balance, and I'll say save. So that's how to post our receipt. Then select Chief Oni. Also put the reference 0223. You can say making full payment, pay. You calculate this. Show my outstanding balance, my cash balance. It now be it's making payment of 452,500. I'll say save. So this is how to post. You can also have invoice applied to revenue. Another thing I want to mention here, assuming the person that are receiving payment from is not in our customer and vendor list, we can just put his name where we can see name. You can just see Mr. Mike. Then you can put a reference number also, 0323. Description: what are we doing for him? There was no invoice. We just organized special training for him on Peachtree. Special training on Peachtree. So we just select the GL that is coming to our income. You just see training service. That was 78,000. Then we see enter. So this is how to post in case the person is not our customer or our vendor. Enter the address, the city, and the country. Then we'll say save. Then we'll close this. I can now pull the transaction, go to tax, system, post. Now say OK. I also want to talk about purchases. Let's go to vendor. We have these are purchase order. We have options: create, auto create new purchase order, auto create multiple purchase order, any purchase order, memorize, print. Let's say new. So this now we are requesting from our suppliers, Mr. Biggs, for instance. You can just say go through just 1 month. Okay. Then purchase order number. We enter the number. Can just say PO1, and enter the item quantity that I want them to supply us. And just say 80. Item, select our stock item. And just say supply. I think our supplies is 30. Let's supply us. And then automatically you can change the unit price to 600 due to inflation, and that's you say save. So let's have to post purchase order. The same way you can also select purchases and receive inventory. You can also go to the tax menu also and select purchases and receive inventory. You can now select customer Mr. Biggs. You can enter the invoice number. And you see apply to purchase order is highlighted, so we can select a purchase order from Mr. Biggs that we received everything 80,000. Supplies, you can see supplies from Mr. Biggs. Say enter. can also enter other informations. See, save. We can also post one more device number. So suppliers, how many quantity? Let's say 69 for food, and the price of 2,300. Then we say save. The last one to talk about is in regards to vendors and purchases, is credit memo and payment. Credit memo and payment. So if they return goods, if we return goods to our creditors, that return outward, so, and it is called in tax, is called vendor credit memo. Vendor credit memo. Select it. So you select our supplier. You can call this one CRN 01. You can now apply to invoice. You select the invoice. That is the invoice that we used to buy from Mr. Biggs. So I returning 10 supplies from Mr. Biggs. So it's automatically giving me my unit price and the amount. And automatically selected the GL account, that is inventory. So it will reduce my inventory by returning it from our stock back to Mr. Biggs. So I'll click on save. Start to post vendor credit memo. The next thing I'll talk about is payment tax. You select payments. If you want to post transaction, yes, post them. So it does use Zenith Bank. Say okay. So this our payment invoice slip. You can see our check number is, you can change the date to 6th of January. You can select person we are paying, Mr. Biggs. Then you can select full amount payment. You can calculate out standing balance. Say save. You can also select KFC and make some part payment. Part payment on account. You see 300,000. So I will say calculate our current balance now. Say save. So that is payment on invoices. we also want to talk about payment for expenses. Let's say running office expenses and fixed assets. So we still go to our same payment and to post yes. So payment, we select the bank they are paying through, but let me pay from, I want to pay for petty expenses, so I can pay through petty cash. Then I can have my petty cash number P01. My current balance is 200,000. Then one of my staff, I can say Lekon. That is, you can see transport to Ikeja. Now select the GL account under my expenses. Select under my expenses. You just say other office expenses. What's the amount? 500. I can also enter one more, advertising. Now select under my expenses, select advertising. Advertising, general ledger, that is 8,000, and so on and so forth. Now click on save. I can also make payment to my for fixed asset. So let me select my check number. I'm paying through GTB. Let me see my balance 500. Okay, put the date, say 7th. So as at 7th, my balance is 1.125 1,121,500. So I can say purchase of motor vehicle from Toyota Limited. Toyota Limited purchased of motor vehicle or Toyota van, motor vehicle. So I now select my motor vehicle account under fixed asset, motor vehicle. I'll put the amount, let me say 1 million. So that's, you can also post fixed assets and expenses. Under payment, I'll click on my save. So I can now calculate my remaining balance now 121,500. So that's how to post. The last thing I want to talk for today is our general journal. General journal. This is used to enter those types of transactions that are not readily categorized in our tax menu. So we use our general journal. For general journal, we can post error, bank charges, depreciation, chart of account beginning balances, account transfers. You just all you need to do, select our date, the reference number, then the two GL account to be debited and credited, and both of them must be 0. So for instance, if I want to depreciate my fixed asset and I want to post monthly depreciation, so I will need to debit depreciation and credit accumulated depreciation. So let me select my GL account, depreciation. Under expenses, I will select depreciation expenses. Say January depreciation, for motor vehicle, now debit it. I can just assume that it is 5,000. Then I'll say next thing to do is my accumulated depreciation for motor vehicle. I'll select it. I'll now put on the credit side, same 5,000. So it must be out of balance. If not, it will not save. So I'll now click on save. So that's how. So we can use general journal for chart of account beginning balances, depreciation, account transfers, service charge, error, and so on. In this tutorial, we talked about tax menu, sales order, sales invoice, credit memo, receipt, purchase order, purchases, receive inventory, vendor, credit memo, payment for expenses, fixed asset, general journal. We also mentioned our sales tax that we refer to as VAT. I hope this has been informative for you, and I want to thank you for viewing.